I'm going to call the Dumfries Town Council regular meeting of Tuesday, September 17th, 2019 to order. Roll call, please.
Councilman Brewer, Councilman Fields, Councilwoman Miles,
Here.
Councilwoman Neville,
Present.
Councilwoman Willis,
Here.
Vice Mayor Nickerson,
Here.
Mayor Wood.
Present. Next on the agenda is the invocation by Reverend Samuel Osei of the Word Performance Church. Please come to the podium, sir, and we thank you.
Good evening. I guess I'm to pray. So please, let's just bow down our heads, please. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you so much in the name of our Savior and our Lord Jesus Christ. God, we thank you for such a great nation, United States of America, that you have placed us here to continue your good work that you started. Therefore, without you, we can do nothing. I stand here in your name to commit to your hands our president, Mr. Trump, his vice Pence, and the rest that are supporting him governing this great country. Lord, also I pray and I commit your people here in Dumfries, our head and our leader, the whole people that are supporting this great work. I pray there shall be success and continuation, peace, stability. We pray for harmonious understanding to live in peace and continue this progress you've started. Lord, I also want to pray over this nation for whatever destabilization the enemy will try will be thwarted and averted. I pray for wisdom for your servant who is leading us here in Dumfries, that God, under his wings, there will be progress, there will be success. Whatever that the enemy will plan will never take place. Look, God, I call in Jesus' name. From today going, let there be turn around. All ear and all eye shall see the progress that through your power you have brought on us, and even the peace. In Jesus' name we trust, with which have not been said is done. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen. All right. Please stand for the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Next on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Town manager, are there any changes to the agenda?
No, sir.
Town council, town clerk, did you have any?
No changes.
All right, council, any adjustments to the agenda? All right, we welcome a motion to adopt the agenda. It's submitted.
So moved.
It's been moved and second by the vice mayor. Seeing no discussion, call for the question. You can cast your votes. Motion passes 5-1. All right, next on the agenda is the citizen comment period. On any of the matters that's not on the agenda, citizens may address the council for up to 3 minutes and businesses for up to 8 minutes. At this time, town clerk, is there anyone signed up to speak?
No, we've actually changed the format of this. It's for 3 minutes,
Okay.
but nobody has signed up. We don't have a sign-up sheet.
Okay, no sign up sheet.
Yeah.
All right, was there, oh, okay. State your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Council. Neverly Teray, 18138 Tibbs Lane, Dumfries, Virginia. I just wanted thank everyone who came out and gave us love and support during the bereavement of my daughter and Derek's sister. Your love was felt and very appreciative, and I just wanted to publicly acknowledge that. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. All right. Was anyone else wanting to speak? Okay, ma'am, just come up, state the name of your company organization.
Hi, good evening. My name's Jessica Coleman, and I work for the Virginia Police Authority. I believe most of you have maybe already heard a little bit over email about PACE financing, but I work for an organization that helps local governments to stand up PACE programs in their jurisdiction. And so I just wanted to come out tonight and introduce myself and make myself available in the future to any questions you may have about this program. PACE financing is a program that is enabled through legislation at the local government level, but then can be administered by a third-party administrator, such as my own organization. And what PACE financing is a means of funneling private sector capital investment into investments in commercial real estate, commercial properties. So if the town of Dumfries were to enable a PACE program, this is a program that comes at no cost to the county. Once the county has enabled the program through the passage of a local ordinance and by adopting program guidelines, they can then execute PACE projects within the local town perimeter, which would allow private capital providers who want to invest in properties located here to invest in these properties through PACE financing. PACE financing is 100% upfront financing for borrowers, no money down, competitive interest rates. There's a lot of benefits to local property owners, and the program also helps to incentivize economic development in the area. So like I said, I just wanted to, there's so much more we can talk about, but I wanted to come down and introduce myself and just let you know that this program's available, and I'd love to talk about it with you all further. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Was anyone else in the audience want to address the council? Any matters not on the agenda? Okay. Come.
Good evening, council members. My name is Michael Billingsley. I represent Greenworks Lending. We're one of the lenders that Justice talked about. We provide CPACE financing across the country nationwide. I'm based here in Washington, D.C. in the Bethesda area, and we provided over 40 plus loans to the Maryland and D.C. areas, and we're helping to finance deals also in Virginia as the PACE programs come along. As Justice spoke about, CPACE financing is a public-private partnership provided by private capital and enabled by the state and local ordinances. Basically, we are able to finance all commercial type of buildings, multifamily, office, industrial, and provide up to 25 to 20% of the LTV, allowing for a stream of energy efficient equipment and retrofits to be installed. And we also finance new construction along as well as the rehab. So PACE has been a great enabler of economic development, tremendous help in terms of encouraging developers and owners of properties to enhance those properties, attracting new tenants, increasing property values, and of course, along with that, building revenue in terms of construction and permits being open at the city. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else wishing to address the council on any matters not on the agenda? All right, seeing none. Next on the agenda are our action items. Our first action item is an ordinance amending Chapter 54, Article 5, Section 54-122, Chapter 70, Article 3, Division 12, Section 70-453, and Chapter 70, Article 4, Section 70-540 to add Department of Environmental Quality provisions to the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Area, also known as CBEQ. PA. It's a mouthful, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you, Mayor. This item that is before you brings our town code into compliance with the DEQ and state guidelines for the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Area. So for this item, I am asking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
All right, it's been motioned, it's been second. Discussion? Councilman Brewer.
I'm sure this is brought forth to you by the Public Works Department? No? Who is it brought forth by?
Zoning Administrator.
Zoning, okay.
You gave them a letter requiring.
Okay,
Push-
how long ago did that come in?
Push your mic, please.
I'm not certain how long ago Mr. Kokar received it some time back. It's been pending for quite some time.
How long is quite some time?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know the
Month?
dates.
Year?
Somewhere between months and a year.
Okay, so we're behind the 8 ball again on this Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act stuff. This is something we need to stay on top of because the town has already been fined one time by not being in compliance. We don't need another one. Because the state does hand down pretty heavy fines on this.
Council Lady Willis.
I don't know who would be able to answer the question since Mr. Kokar's not here. Does this, this ordinance that we're adding, is it in conjunction with the MS4 program? Is that why we're doing it?
I don't want to say no fully because it's all connected with DEQ. However, this is very specific to the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Area. And so this is required from DEQ for us to be in compliance with them.
So let me ask you this, are the ones that are out of compliance, like all these houses that are along Quantico Creek that have been building stuff and putting fences up and there's no setback, are they grandfathered in? Or are they out of compliance? Or what, do you have any idea what status that would make?
So that's a separate issue that I think we can discuss in relation to our overall MS4 program.
But who would we discuss it with? Since Mr. Kokar's not here, would
Me.
we have to, but I mean, are you gonna get DEQ involved or?
We can start with me.
Well,
Hopefully,
I understand that.
If DEQ is involved, there's an issue. So we're trying to, this ordinance is just simply to update the code so that we don't
Right, I
have issues.
understand this, but I'm
Correct.
just thinking ahead of, once this thing is in, put in our ordinances, how are we going to implement it to certain parts of the town that have been out of compliance for decades? Because I can remember when I moved here, they were doing, they were right on the river's edge or the creek's edge. So, that's another,
Right.
it's a
That's,
separate issue. I totally
correct.
understand, but we really need to not let this get out of hand and just sit because this is passed and we're not dealing with the other.
no, you're absolutely correct. And we are dealing with the other as well. So you're 100% correct. So we are dealing with it.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no further discussion, there's a motion on the floor to amend the code as stated. There's been properly second. Please call for the question.
I believe at this time we need to ask for any citizen
Oh.
comments before we move forward with the vote.
Very well. Are there any comments about this ordinance to update DEQ for the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act? Seeing no comment, now you can call for the question.
Clarification.
Push
Why
it,
are
push
we
it.
going to for a public comment when we already have? Is this a public hearing?
It's an ordinance and all ordinances require a public hearing. So all action items will require a public hearing.
All right, so is this a public hearing? That's what I'm asking.
Yes, it is.
So all right, how come it's not been described as a public hearing at the beginning?
Every,
Like our normal meetings do when we have a public hearing?
We just called for the public hearing.
Has it? No, you called for action item. You didn't call for a public hearing.
The
Has this
mayor
been
just asked if
advertised?
there was, absolutely. The mayor just asked if there was comment from the public.
I understand that. But it wasn't mentioned that this is a public hearing.
It was
It is
advertised
a
as
ordinance
such.
amending chapter 54 under an action item, not under public hearing. So that's why I'm asking for clarification here. So what you're doing, what you're saying is that any action item that comes before the council from now on requires a public hearing.
And it's advertised as such, just as these three items were.
All right. Again. So these are public hearings, not an action item. An action is when you take action. A
We-
public hearing is when you go to the public.
We're doing both.
You're doing both. Okay, I'm glad I'm asking these questions. Thank you, me. So that the
We explained
public
it at the
knows.
last meeting.
Does the public know about this?
It was advertised as a public hearing for
Okay.
each item.
Who did we go through for
The
advertising?
clerk.
Okay, clerk, who did you advertise with?
It was advertised with Prince William Times.
Prince William Times?
Yes.
Okay.
You had a question?
No.
Okay. All right, call for the question. All right, you're voting on moving this ordinance into updating our chapter. All right, motion carries 6-0. Next ordinance is an ordinance to amend the town code to add the public procurement, chapter 80, public procurement, section 80-1 through chapters 80-6. Town manager?
Thank you, Mayor. As described when this paper was introduced, this item helps to bring the town into compliance with the Virginia Public Procurement Act. The town has an annual budget of approximately $5 million, and it's important, as I had identified previously, that the town is up to date with all our policies and procedures regarding the way that we utilize the public good. And the biggest public good is the taxpayer resources that they pay to make up our budget. This ordinance sets the tone for us to be able to follow accurately the Virginia Public Procurement Act, and it also begins to set the establishment for a small purchase policy, which is critical to a town government with a budget of our size. So for this item, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
All right, discussion from council. Councilman Brewer.
But what you failed to mention, you're absolutely right. But what you failed to mention is that we're striking the execution of contracts from the town ordinance. Generally, the town manager and the mayor shall jointly execute all contracts authorized by the town council. The only exception to this policy is the town manager's own employment contract with the town, which shall be executed by the mayor after prior approval by the council. All this is being struck. So if you're willing to give up your ability to manage, which is part of the duties of what you're on this council for, then you go ahead and vote for this. The town manager and mayor must receive the town council's approval on all financial terms and provisions prior to execution to any applicable town contractual agreement or arrangement. For each contract, sufficient funding must be available to the current town budget to cover the financial terms. To obtain final town council approval prior committing to the town to a binding contract, a formal motion must be made at the regular monthly council meeting and adopted by a majority-wide vote. That's being struck from the ordinance. Who come up with this? Who was this? Was there a staff member or someone? Because they're basically cutting the town council out of any type of contractual oversight. And again, under number 13, purchasing. subject to the duly adopted purchasing policy of the town manager shall be authorized to approve and execute contracts on behalf of the town up to $5,000. So what you're not being told is now he can approve any contract, regardless, without town council approval. So you just, if you're going to approve this, you're not going to have any oversight. The town manager should make a report to the council at the next regular or special meeting which contracts entered into or executed by the town manager pursuant to the authority under this section since the date of the town manager's immediate previous report. In cases of emergency, the limit shall be raised to $10,000, and the council shall be apprised of the emergency and related contracts as soon as possible. All of this is being stricken from this. I'm not willing to give up oversight. That's the reason the people elected us, is for oversight here. And if this is what you want to do, then you go ahead and vote for it. Okay? Also, too, regarding oversight, I've asked the town manager to provide the council with a line item budget, which has not been sent to me yet. I've asked 3 times, never been sent. That is part of our oversight. That is what our job is. So if you guys want to vote for this, because I know y'all have been talking, I'm not.
Council Lady Willis.
One of the things that troubles me about this is the lack of town council oversight. And I've had conversations with a number of people on this council about our lack of oversight as far as the budget's concerned. And now I'm seeing this. And whatever you all want to do, it's up to each individual to make that decision. But I'm not going to vote for this, because one of the things that we have to do is oversight on the budget, oversight on the ordinances, and our charter, everything. But this is the money, and like Councilman Brewer, I've asked for a line item budget. Haven't seen it yet, so I'm not voting for it. So thank you.
Vice Mayor.
I actually agree with Councilman Brewer and Council Lady Willis. The strikeout of the first paragraph, let me ask a question. Is this authority reassigned in another chapter, in another place in the ordinance?
Allow me to address those
Please.
comments. First, I'll start first with the oversight. The oversight is the budget. The budget, despite what was shared for the public, a line item budget, every line of the town budget is available to the public online and to every council member. That's 1. 2, the language in the code that is being stricken is against Virginia public procurement. That's why it's stricken. Anybody that purchases goods or services in the Commonwealth of Virginia is bound by the Virginia Public Procurement Act. I cannot decide arbitrarily who to assign a contract to, nor can the council. The language was stricken so that we can become in compliance with Virginia Public Procurement Act. In regards to oversight, the new ordinance or the new code says that I will provide, it's my responsibility to provide quarterly a report on all the contracts. So oversight is not eliminated. Further, no one can purchase anything that is not budgeted for. So that is another level of oversight. Additionally, we will be following Virginia Public Procurement Act, which in itself is designed to ensure that there's competition and oversight and transparency is involved. Again, the language that is stricken, to me, it seems was written as if there was no professional staff for the town and only a council. As a council member, if there was a contract that was put out and we said we're going to select the lowest qualified bidder, not myself, Not a department head, not the council can decide to do otherwise because that is against procurement. So all we're trying to do with a staff of this size is to be able to follow policy and procedures that ensure that we're in line with Virginia Public Procurement Act. And these changes are necessary in order for us to be able to do that.
Thank you.
Turn your lights on. I just turned them on.
Thank you. Thank you for that explanation. It puts things into a different perspective. And that was, I really feel like when when Councilman Brewer and Willis and Council Lady Willis, when they make their points such as that, it gives the public an opportunity to have a better comprehension of what's being done up here, and myself too, because I am still learning. Before you provided that explanation, what they said made perfect sense. When you put it in that context of it seems as though it was taking away the oversight. And for that, I did not agree with the removal of the oversight. However, based on your explanation, if ultimately this comes from a higher authority and this is what has to be done to be in compliance, then you do have my support on it. Thank you for that explanation.
Councilman Brewer.
Just to clarify things, Virginia Public Procurement Act, you have to get a minimum of 3 bids. You're supposed to choose the lowest bidder. This is not something that has been new to the council. We have gone through oversight of contracts. This was written by an attorney, our town attorney. So if you're saying that our town attorney has violated the Virginia Procurement Act, I think you're wrong. I don't know why she would place liability on the town by writing something not she, but the attorney's office would put the town of Dumfries in some sort of liability. Now, I know that in the past, like I said, we have gone through many, many, many contracts. We have not violated any type of procurement act by doing this. It is simple oversight. What happens is a contract will come into a department. The department will go out and get 3, 4, 6, 8 bids, whatever, unless it's sole source. Then what will happen is, then they will go to the town manager, discuss the recommendation. The recommendation comes to council. We make the decision. The council is being cut out of this decision-making process. Also, too, there is no limit on what the town manager can spend here. It was $5,000. Now it's open-ended. So, and if it's not written in here.
If I may, just to address.
The ultimate authority on our finances is ultimately in the budget. Our budget document is our guidance, it's our priorities, it's our objectives. All the authority that we give for spending money comes in the budget when we adopt and approve a budget. So everything that we outline in the budget should be the basis for which how all the funds is being spent. Town manager?
That's correct. Further, to add to that, the Virginia Public Procurement Act provides thresholds for how purchases are to be made. There are various thresholds depending on the good or service that you are procuring, but that provides additional thresholds, and it also provides a method for procurement. Again, these are taxpayer resources. I pick on the chief because he has a large department, but the money that for the police department budget, it doesn't belong to the chief. It belongs to the town of Dumfries. What we want to do is make sure that we are doing the very best we can to ensure that those resources are utilized in an appropriate manner. So it's not about somebody's approval authority. It's about having a method to procure this that is in line with the state code. And so, as we all know, there are many codes that become outdated as we grow and as time passes. So what we are trying to do with this ordinance is ensure that we are transparent with what we are purchasing and that we have the tools and resources that the state allows and provides to be able to do that.
Council Lady Willis.
Looking at this, we in my opinion, and everyone up here has their own opinion, and yes, we are spending our taxpayers' dollars. We need to really look at this and have more information, because you keep referencing the Virginia procurement law, the act or whatever it is. We need more information except for these little excerpts. We need to look at it. I mean, how many people have read it besides the town manager and the attorney? No, I haven't.
Town attorney, as looking over this document, what is your legal opinion on this?
The new additions provide the ability for a small purchase policy, which you could do anyway. The prompt payment clause says that we'll pay our basically pay our bills within 30 days, which is good. The state code requires us to pay them in 45. But the small purchase section allows us to have a small purchase policy, which we do need. The parts that are being deleted don't necessarily violate the Virginia Public Procurement Act. They just put more restrictions on the town than what they put additional restrictions on the town that the Public Procurement Act does not, where the town manager would not have to come to you for approval for a contract as long as it fell within the guidelines of what was in the budget and what was allowable under the Public Procurement Act. He could go forward with that without the additional step of coming to council for approval of specific contracts. So basically, when you approve the budget, you're approving how much he can spend in different areas. And this makes it where he doesn't have to come back to you every time that he wants to make a purchase that's within the guidelines of the budget. And the small purchasing.
And I want to say, I think that's an advantage, because if we got people putting bids in, it could delay it 30, 60, sometimes 3 months, depending on how many times it got to come before council as far as contracts. And if it's approved in the budget, then it gives us a way to be able to execute and be able to get quality contractors in, I believe. Carry on.
Well, and the purchasing limitations before that were limited to $5,000 per purchase. Once the small purchase policy is put into effect, it will tell you how he deals with the small purchase policies, which it's more than 5,000, but the council the council doesn't have to pass the small purchase policy up to the highest threshold that the state code allows, but it does allow you to have the small purchase policy that gives a little more leeway and a little more ability that we don't have right now on small purchases. Whereas on some small purchases now, we would have to put it out for bid or would have to put it out for a request for proposal. Once you have a small purchase policy, on some of those purchases under $50,000 or $60,000, he would be able to get 3 quotes and that kind of thing. On some of the items that are a little more difficult to procure, it makes some of the procurement easier. So the deleted parts aren't against the public procurement, but they just restrict the town manager's abilities more.
If I may, I just want to clarify for the public. If you put out an invitation for bid and say you're going to buy 25 ink pens and you ask for bids and you say you're going to take the lowest qualified bidder, which means that the person has the lowest price and can furnish the ink pens, not myself, not any staff, not the council can make any contrary decision to that. So when I say that the part that was stricken is contrary to procurement, it's contrary to procurement because we cannot make a different decision. The only decision we can have is whether to cancel the solicitation or move forward with the solicitation. If everything is subject to council approval and you cancel solicitations for those reasons, there's not going to be any business that's going to come and provide you the goods or services that you need. So that is why that is necessary.
Councilman Brewer.
We put a threshold on this at $5,000. And there was a reason for that. It's because it wasn't in place. And we were getting spending from town managers all over the place. And then we were having to dip into our savings at that time and pull money out. That's the reason this was put in place, so that we do put a threshold on there, and everything over $5,000 has to come to the council. Now, if it's over $5,000, just like this furniture back here that was purchased or over there, that should have come to council. Now, it was in a line item that I guess, I don't know, I was told that it would come out of the town hall renovation budget, but I was never told about it buying any furniture for town hall renovation budget. But the reason we put that in there is so that we limit the spending of one single person here, so that it comes to this council, a board of 7 people, to decide what's going on. You know, the people have elected us. The town manager was appointed, okay? Town manager doesn't live in the town of Dumfries. We do. We answer to you guys. We see you guys every day. Somewhere, some day of the week, we have to answer to you. And the reason that we put this threshold on here is because things were being done other than what the council wanted. That's all I'm going to say about this. But, I've been here for a little while. I've experienced a whole lot of stuff. I've seen a whole lot of things happen. So there's a reason for things being in place that they are. Now, as far as purchasing, I purchase stuff where I work through EVA all the time. I put in bids for jobs, Louisa County, Pennsylvania County, all over. It goes through the same process everywhere. It's got to go. Everybody puts their bid in. They pick the lowest qualified bid. Then you have to go out and perform your work. It doesn't put any restrictions on the work being done. What it does is provides oversight. And that's exactly what this council is giving up, is basic oversight. Now, as far as going by the budget, we don't have any idea what a line item is. Can anybody tell me what a sergeant makes in the town of Dumfries? Anybody on this council? Just speak up. No. And the reason you don't is because it's not in our budget that was presented to us. It was given to us as an entire lump sum of money. So that's why I've asked for this, so that we can provide oversight, because when we have to do the mid-year budget review, we're just looking at a total amount of money. Regardless of what's being said up here, I still haven't seen it. If it was that easy to access, it should have been printed and thrown in my box. That is the whole point of a council person requesting something and then having the town manager provide it, and it hasn't been provided. So as far as me giving up the oversight of the council on purchases over $5,000, forget it. Been there, done that.
Council Lady Neville.
Thank you, Mayor. I had clear thoughts, and I just feel there are some things that I have to touch on really quickly. One, it's not the council of the past. We've been very active, doing a lot of work, and been very effective over the past year. So that stated, I'm just not going to sit here and accept the personal attacks on council members or staff whom we hired. We were all elected, and we hired, and we should trust the people who we hire to work on behalf of the people of the town. That's number one. Number two, moving forward, following Virginia procurement, becoming compliant finally also makes us transparent in what we do and how we are good stewards of the citizens' tax dollars. It also provides an equitable opportunity for contractors or potential contractors who would like to work with the town. And that is not
what it has been. So I appreciate the town manager for bringing us into compliance with this. We have to understand that new methods, processes, procedures, and ways of doing business does not mean that we're doing something wrong. Perception is everything. However, the newness provides an opportunity, for edification. So if we truly feel people may not know, or potential contractors may not know how to access EVA or how to adequately do business with the town, or if people on the council are not business owners and aren't familiar with EVA or Virginia's procurement process, perhaps the town can provide a session educating everyone on how to do so, and an additional session with potential contractors where they can bring their smart devices, laptops, and set up their EVA account. And also, town manager, I would like for you to provide a link that's on the EVA website, but just provide it on the town website so people can access that themselves before a workshop is set up. And that stated, I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with this item.
Second.
So motion, before we take that motion, we want to have public input from the crowd. So there's a motion, there's a second. Clerk, what should we do with that? Okay. All right, so there's a motion, there's a second. At this time, if there's any public comment on the discussion that we had, you can come to the podium and make any discussion. Okay, seeing no public discussion. All right, it's been motioned, it's been second. You can call for the question. So a yes vote is to bring into compliance and to accept the ordinance as written. A no vote is to say that you don't want the changes that's been presented before you. Cast your vote. All right, motion carries 4-2. 4-2. Next on the agenda is an ordinance to authorize the town manager into a lease agreement for office space here at 17739 Main Street. Mr. Rogers.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is for a lease for some vacant space that we have on the third floor of this building. If you all are familiar, this is the smaller suite that is available on the third floor of the building. So this will be to enter into a 5-year lease with a tenant. So looking for a motion to approve this item.
Councilman Brewer.
So who's moving in on the third floor?
You want to discuss this openly without the lease? I'm fine with that, but I know that hasn't been the practice, so.
Town attorney, is this for contract negotiation? Should we
No, I mean, it's,
push your
Who is the potential lease?
push your mic, Keith, while she's.
Oh.
Go ahead.
the contract is not confidential. It's been negotiated by Trimark on the town's behalf. So it's not a secret who's going in.
I just want to make sure.
Right, yeah.
So it's Future King.
Push it.
Oh.
Correct.
What type of business is it?
It's a nonprofit that provides training in STEM and IT to school-age children.
Okay. So my next question is, have we done a background check on these people with other jurisdictions?
Did a background check with other jurisdictions?
Yeah, like what I'd asked for before we got into hot water down here with this other company that we failed to do so, and we gave them an occupancy permit.
It's a totally different subject.
Well,
Trimark.
Well, no, one leads into the other.
Okay.
I mean, if that's the case, if you're gonna lease it, then they're gonna have to get a business license, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So it's 6 1/2 dozen the other. Has the town done their due diligence to find out if they owe any back taxes or anything like that from other jurisdictions?
All of the negotiation is handled by Trimark, including financial fitness for the lease term.
Has this been discussed with Trimark for them to get this information on behalf of the town?
Get what information?
What we had discussed prior to us removing a certificate of occupancy from another business here in the town.
I don't know what business you're referring to or what that.
All right, let me put it out there. The funeral home.
Okay.
All right. Before we got in, this argument or conflict between lawyers and things of that nature, have we done our due diligence to find out if these people or this organization owes any back taxes or in any kind of trouble with any other jurisdiction in the state of Virginia?
That what I stated that Trimark does negotiations that includes the physical fitness of every entity that we sign a lease with. The other items that you're referring to are not germane to this lease, nor what will be required for a lease agreement.
Okay, so what you're saying is that no.
What I'm saying is I do not understand how that has anything to do with this ordinance.
What I'm saying, this is the only thing we're doing is approving the ability to have them lease it.
Absolutely.
So does Trimark go back on behalf of the town, since they are our management company for this building, and find out if these people or organization, whoever, owe back taxes in any other jurisdiction or have any type of legal ramifications in any other jurisdiction on behalf of the town? Or do we do that after they've already moved in and they submit for a certificate of occupancy, and then based on that point, that's when we find out the viability of the business after we've already signed a 5-year lease with them?
I want to answer your questions, but it does not make sense regarding the lease. So what I can say is Trimark, as I stated, does our negotiations and does a review of the financial fitness, which means can the people we're leasing this property to pay the lease that they have agreed to. They do that on our behalf. They've done it with this organization.
So they've done Dunn's background check on them to see if to see the viability of the company.
Sure.
All right. So then after that, I mean, it's like we're putting the cart before the horse here. This company should have been checked out by the town first, not Trimark.
But they work on our behalf, so that's what they're hired to do.
But that's only on the lease.
That is all we're talking about.
All I'm trying to do is avoid another potential lawsuit with the town.
Town attorney.
The issues before were more business license related. When these when these companies come in to get their business license, the appropriate checks will be made for their business license. But when they're signing up for a lease, the leasing company will check on their financial fitness and their ability to pay the lease. If for some reason they can't get a business license, then that would pose other problems. But I don't believe that the problems that you're referring to were related to their lease and their issues with their landlord. It was a business license
And
issue.
this is what I'm getting at. Should the check be done before Trimark gets a hold of it?
No.
Or should it be done after Trimark has already agreed on our behalf to lease them that space for 5 years?
You can lease property without having a business license. They could lease the suite and sit there and have lunch with each other. That's totally legal. As long as they pay the lease and the rent per month, that's totally legal.
So you're saying you can operate a business without a business license?
No, I did not say anything like that.
So you have lunch?
What I said is you can have a lease and pay the lease regardless of whether you have a licensed business within that premise.
Okay. So what my question is, again, to the staff, do we do it before or do we do it after?
I don't know what do it means. We've done the due diligence for financial fitness through our vendor Trimark. they have.
All right, this was something that was discussed. This is something that was discussed back when we had a spat with this funeral home, okay? And one of the things that we all agreed on at that point was for the town to check with other jurisdictions to see if any type of problems they've had with other jurisdictions. Everybody voted on it. Everybody agreed on it.
So just a point of clarity for you.
Mhm.
We're just talking about
I know what you're talking about. You're
just
talking about a
just the lease agreement. We're not talking
Talking about
about
lease.
business license.
But one plays into
and
the other
everything.
here. That's the reason
Yeah.
I'm bringing it up.
All right. So-
Which came first, chicken or the egg?
Yeah.
Nobody can answer that.
But
And
we're
that's what I'm getting here.
we're looking to lease this spot
Right.
and to begin to generate additional revenue for the building. And they haven't come in. I don't know if
In
they
order for
applied
them
for a
to
business license.
generate
Any of that.
additional revenue,
Absolutely.
they have to have a business license.
In order for us to generate the additional revenue, they need to pay the rent. So we need to follow the law.
But in order for you to
which
pay
is
the rent, you need to operate the business.
That's not true. And I just explained
No.
that. So we're confusing the public by muddying several situations that are not
No,
related.
I'm not
to each other.
muddying anything. The town council has already discussed this. So all I'm asking is, do we do the due diligence before they lease it, or do we do it after?
For the fifth time, Trimark does the due diligence on behalf of the town. So
So you're
been
leaving it
done.
up to Trimark to check the viability, whether they have any type of criminal activity outside the town of Dumfries. You're leaving it up to them to check on that, which I don't think they should or even do. And that was something this council has already discussed.
Yeah, the business license office doesn't check for criminal activity outside the state either. So again,
I'm not saying
we're talking,
outside the
we're
state, I'm
talking,
saying within the state.
yes, please.
So relax. Council Lady Willis.
I understand the lease, and I understand the problems we had with the funeral home. Is there any mechanism
Yes, we put that in place.
that would allow the town to check on, because this particular business works with children, whether or not they are above board? That's, rather than getting into specifics, and haven't had any issues with activities with children that aren't above board? Is there any mechanism that this town has available to it? Now, I'm not worried about Trimark. I'm not talking about leases. That's a separate issue. I'm just sort of talking about the viability of us checking into the type of business that we're allowing to move into our building within the town.
Yes, we do.
Okay, explain it to me.
Explain what powers
What
we have to.
mechanisms and powers we are able to utilize to check out a business. I don't care if they can, they can pay all day long. That has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. Any business, have you had criminal activity? Have you, working with children is a lot bigger, than selling, making widgets. That's the mechanisms that we utilize as a town. And we had discussions when we were talking, in closed session, which I can't discuss, on other things. Do we have any mechanisms now? And you say yes. So I'm asking you, what are they?
The mechanisms to see if everything is above board.
Above board legally
Right.
in what they are doing as a business.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And so the methods are looking into what the services they provide, whether they have the proper certifications, authorizations, licensures for whatever services they provide.
Mm-hmm.
So they're the same powers that every locality would have.
I understand.
Right.
Is there any mechanism to look to see if any business has had any criminal activity whatsoever done?
Yes.
Happened to them? Okay.
Yes.
All right. That's fine. So do we do that before the lease comes into play? Or do we do it after the lease comes into play?
As I mentioned, that's not related to the lease. So
I
we
understand
follow
it's
the
not
law.
related
The
to
first
the
thing we do
lease.
is follow the law. So
I understand the
that's
lease is a
first.
lease. I mean, I
Right.
work with leases all the time. The thing about it is this, do you check on someone before they move into your property, knowing full well that they can pay the lease? Because Trimark has done a financial on them to see that they can.
Fitness is more than just simply whether you can pay.
Well, I know.
So
I'm just being simplistic.
right. I just want to make it clear that we do our due diligence and
Okay.
we're not just bringing leases for potential criminals because that's how the conversation is sounding. So I just want
Well,
to make
that's,
it
it's not
clear.
really, it's, town manager, I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus. I'm just trying to get clarification on what our mechanisms and process are.
Sure. And I mentioned Trimark does the financial fitness and
Correct.
due diligence. So that involves checking on whatever licenses for whatever services a lessee will provide, make sure that they are have, the board, all the type of things that you would want to have if you were a person applying to rent an apartment, any type of check. So do we do background checks on lessees? No. Is that something that could be done? Sure. Is it appropriate? I'm not sure. So in terms of due diligence, it's being done. That's what Trimark was hired to do. We don't want a business or anybody to lease property from us that would have an issue because that's property that we would end up having to deal with the issue. So due diligence is done. When it's done, before the lease, after the lease hasn't been signed. That's the paper that is before the council right now. So Trimark has already done due diligence before we bring an ordinance to the council.
All right.
Council Lady Neville.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say I empathize with the abundance of caution with the organizations working with children, but I just want to make sure per this conversation, if anyone from Future Kings or anyone from the community is watching, this sheds no light on their magnificent work in the Prince William County community for years. They're an amazing group. They're going to provide an amazing resource for youth in our own community. I'm actually excited to see them come from out west. I think they're actually in Manassas now and have their headquarters over here at Grand Park. Yeah, and coming back over here to the town of Dumfries. I'm really excited about this and I welcome them to our community. And with that stated, I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with the ordinance.
Second.
At this time, we welcome public comment for this ordinance. For the motion, is there anybody from the public wishing to speak on the ordinance to allow the town manager to enter into negotiations for the lease? All right, seeing no public comment, call for the question, please. Okay, motion carries 6-0. All right, at this time it's 8 o'clock. We're gonna take a 5-minute council stretch break. All right. Yeah, it's 8:06. We're gonna start this back up. All right. Next. No. All right. Next on the is the council salary adjustment discussion. All right. I think that the during the budget session, council talked about salary adjustments. We've looked at different jurisdiction, and the town manager needed direction on some type of ordinance or what direction council wanted to go, if there was any recommendations or any numbers that council was looking at. We wanted to bring that discussion as promised back up in the month of September. So I just open the floor up for any discussion on that. This is a discussion item. And town manager, what direction did you need exactly?
Specific direction would include specific amounts or percentages. And then at that point, I could evaluate the budget to see if funds are available and be able to bring something back to the council.
Now, I think during our last discussion we had on this, there was, we were looking at putting something in writing so that council would be in line with staff or all of the employees.
In regards to consideration for salaries, we can include that as well. So if I guess that can be done two ways. One, if the discussion here tonight results in some specific amounts, because that is required for the council members. Annually during the budget time, we can the council can agree to ensure that that's evaluated on an annual basis with the town budget. And that all could be in one ordinance.
All right, council? This is a continuation from the subject we had prior and close. We're bringing it to an open discussion, conversation. Councilman Brewer.
I don't think it's necessary for a salary adjustment to be enacted at all.
Okay. Council Lady Neville.
Town manager, could you let us know when was the last time stipends for council have been updated?
Who said 20 years?
Yeah, we were trying to check on that, and so it was a little bit inconclusive, but it had been a good while.
Okay. Also, could you let us know, and since we're being transparent for the public, what the stipends are for council members, vice mayor, and mayor currently?
Yes, sir. It's on. I'm sorry, Councilwoman. I was looking towards the mayor because it's on the doc, highlighted on that document.
Understood.
Okay, council members get $5,212 per year, and the mayor gets $8,040 per year.
Can we break that down, like the vice mayor, the council, like I know what council gets, and the mayor before we move forward with talking about numbers here?
The vice mayor
Per
is
month.
not there, but it's 7,000. I have to pull it up.
Okay, you had a question when we pull it up. Vice Mayor.
When it comes to stipends, salary is a very heavy word and not applicable in this case. When it comes to stipends and how they're budgeted with different towns, is it budgeted as a percentage based on the annual budget? How does that work? Or is it a number set in stone regardless? And when you say it's quite some time, let's put some numbers on that. Are we talking 5 years, 10, 20, approximately?
I would say approximately 10 years.
10 years?
At a minimum.
Okay.
And I wasn't, like I said, it's a little inconclusive because I didn't find exactly the last time. But and I would say the answer to your other question is typically just set. The rates are set by ordinance. Some councils do it per meeting. Some do what they call an annual salary, and some call it a stipend. But the amounts are set in code. And so that is what we would need to do here.
Are they eligible to be fluid?
You mean to be adjusted year by year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Okay, thank you.
What was the annual for the vice mayor? You know, I got 430.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have the number in front of me, but it's 7,560, I believe. It's somewhere in that neighborhood.
Was there any other discussion or direction for the town manager?
Just to clarify what we were just discussing here for people watching, we were talking about council before taxes, a stipend of $435, vice mayor a stipend of $630, and the mayor a stipend of $670 per month before taxes.
All right, so is council wishing for the town manager to take any action or to move forward or bring anything back? That's what this discussion, we wanted to make sure we brought this discussion back in September per the council requests so that we can have this conversation and figure out what direction. Councilman Brewer has said he wished to see no changes be made. So we'll just come down the dais and just get input from everybody. It's just like pulling teeth. Council lady, we're gonna come down to Council Lady Miles.
I would definitely like to see an increase, only because we can't determine when the last increase was. And I would say with the volume of work that we're doing in terms of as a new council, in addition to that, what our constituents may not be aware of, I know the mayor may be aware. The mayor, you see the mayor also, he does his barbecue business, but we also take time off of work to do things to take care of the town's business. And that stipend kind of offsets the time that we miss from work and other things that we're doing. So I would like to see an increase. I was playing with my calculator to see what might be reasonable. I don't know if we want to do a percentage or if we want to go with a dollar figure. So I'm still playing around with that idea, but I'm definitely in favor of an increase.
Okay. Council Lady Willis. Push your mic.
Since the budget is in the hands of the town manager, I think he needs to bring us some numbers, whether it's percentage. I mean, it could be so much per month or percentage, so we can just look at what it would be.
Council Lady Neville.
Thank you, Mayor. I echo Council Lady Miles' sentiments, and in playing with some numbers, and I am not a numbers woman, maybe full disclosure with that. I was playing with 700 per month for council, 800 for vice mayor, 1,000 for mayor. Mayor, I'm so sorry. I had no idea your stipend was 670. And roughly that would be a difference. That would be an additional 765 per month based on the numbers that were shared for what we're getting now as a stipend. So, and when you put that in perspective with what Council Lady Miles said, that's just a complimentary token to the stipend, considering what we're doing, taking off days of work. It doesn't compare. But since we haven't and we don't know when the last update has been, those are numbers. Since no one's thrown numbers out there, I'll throw some numbers out there. Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
I do think that it is time to make a change. It doesn't have to be a very large change, but if for no other reason than the fact that it's been so long since it's been done, and especially for newer council members, what you see is there is a lot more participation with, as far as the council members, the participation in the different activities that we are hosting as a town. And that does include taking off work early. In this area, that also includes taking off work, period. That includes hopping in the HOV in order to make meetings on time. And the reality of it is we all got into this as a labor of love, and that's not a secret. I'm sure nobody got up here to get rich or to live, because you can't. But it would be appreciated to feel appreciated and be offered some sort of stipend to help offset some of the costs that we are taking out of our pockets in order to serve our community. And it, again, it doesn't have to be large, but I do think that it is time for a reevaluation and for a numbers change.
All right, I was adding. The only one who threw numbers out so far is Council Lady Neville. Numbers you gave, just to put it in perspective, it takes it council salary from 5216 to 8,400 a month. I mean a year, which is a difference of $3,000 a year. 3184 takes the vice mayor from 73 to 9,600 a year, and the mayor from 8,000 to 12,000 per year at your recommendations, which was a difference of 4,000. Yeah, vice mayor.
Sorry, one other thing I want to make mention of is every other political position, they also get salaries too. So we're not asking for something that is off the cuff. There are other positions that earn salaries, but as most of you may or may not know, very few of them are living wages. You don't start really earning a salary as a politician until you reach, it's beyond senator, isn't it? Is it governor letter? Governor, maybe? Yeah. Right, right. And so again, we all do this out of our love for our communities. But it would be nice to have some help. And as far as those numbers, I see nothing wrong with those numbers. I think those are very minor incremental increases, and I think it's definitely something to consider.
So, Council Lady Miles.
Okay. So in hearing those numbers are not astronomical. I think those numbers are completely reasonable. At this point, I wonder, could we direct the town manager to see if those numbers are within the budget for those increases?
Town manager.
Yeah, what I would do is I will take these numbers and I will evaluate the budget and I will bring something back to the council.
Can we make that a smart? Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Hold on, Councilman Brewer, and then we'll come back to you, Councilman.
Well, your budget's already been set. Salary's already been set. So whenever you remove it from one line item to another, you need council approval from that unless you've already given that away, which I think you did last meeting. Everybody says that it's a labor of love. Well, if it's a labor of love, you do it for nothing. People in Quantico do it for $1 a year. So we were at the time back in 2004, when was that was the last time that we'd voted a raise in here. We were the highest paid town. And everybody, when we go to VML, would look at us and go, God, man, you guys are making that much? So you go to 2 meetings a month. Anything other than that, that's on you because you want to do it. And now you're asking the town to pay for it. So if you're out here having these little special meetings with whatever group at whatever time, that's on you. These groups can set up a meeting with the town council and the mayor can call for a special called meeting. 2 council members can call for a special called meeting. So it doesn't have to be something you and one-on-one with whatever group. But you're officially getting paid for 2 meetings a month. And with that being the case, then you're getting paid about $200 and some a meeting. if you want to break it down. Mayor's gonna make a little bit more than that, vice mayor make a little bit more than that. So, if we're gonna sit in here and make $200 a meeting, that ain't too bad. I'd love to get paid $200 per meeting that I attend during a week. I'd be a rich man. I wouldn't attend but half of them. So, like I said before, you guys are gonna do what you want to do. You make enough. There's no reason to be placing the burden on townspeople anymore than what they got. They're already being double taxed. Unless you want to, I think that's something you need to work on rather than your own salary.
Council Lady Neville.
Yes, I just wanted a point of clarification from the town manager. Will you have that information back for us for the October council meeting on October 2nd without looking at my calendar?
It's a Wednesday, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the next meeting will be a Wednesday because of VML. Oh, so it's October 1st.
October 1st is the next meeting. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm sorry, town manager, you said you would have that for us October 1st?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
And keep in mind, what would be before you on October 1st would be a ordinance to change the salaries as described tonight, as well as an ordinance to amend the budget to adjust funds should we find that there's sufficient funds to adjust to make these increments go into effect.
Okay. Council Lady Willis and then Vice Mayor.
When you say go into effect, when are you planning on making it effective?
I need to take these numbers and go back. So I was just trying to give an idea of what the process would be. So it would at least be the end of February, the second meeting in October before we had approval.
Vice Mayor.
I was going to actually, I had a rebuttal to something that Councilman Brewer said, but I've decided not to say it because I don't want to go back and forth.
All right, seeing no further discussion on this. Next on the agenda is the town Christmas parade and the tree lighting ceremony. All right, I asked for this to be placed on because it's been the tradition of this council to talk about a theme and a grand marshal. Usually at the beginning of the year, we would get the kids and everything to do that. And we would usually have some type of briefing because we have to start soliciting for parade participants and talk about those things. So I wanted to have a discussion about the Christmas parade and tree lighting. We voted on already who our grand marshal was on a motion made by Councilman Brewer for our Boys and Girls Club. But do we have a current theme for our parade? Town manager, I don't know, because I know there's no staff here represented for the Christmas parade.
Right. I mean, staff is working on the parade. The fall festival is fast approaching, so that's the top priority. But yeah, staff is actively planning the Christmas parade. So in terms of a theme, you might have to beg my pardon being a little new. I didn't know the defining theme, so to speak, was an element that we needed to present tonight. But staff is actively working on the plans and details for Christmas parade.
So one of the things I wanted to present or talk about with the parade is just some lessons or some stuff we saw last year that was different or made it complex. We gave out awards and certificates and stuff, but there was like almost about an hour. I don't know how long it took for the award ceremony to come, and we lost a lot of the participants in the parade doing the family fun activities because of the delay. What happened was we started here at the town hall and ended up at the Dumfries Shopping Center at the end of the parking lot down there, where the big billboard that just got replaced over there with the nice, beautiful billboard. It's now upright. But yeah, fine. Yeah, I just wanted to say that just for the people. So yeah. So, but anyway, so in saying that, we want to look at, and just talking to some citizens and stuff. I know one of our business owners always complained that he lost all the business on one of the business day. That if we maybe started in reverse and ended here, and you can print your certificates and don't have to wait for your event planner to drive all the way back to town hall, print everything up there. But if we start at the possibly the rescue squad and have people and then march back in reverse, and we end in our own park and don't use the parking lot at Dumfries Shopping Center, but we have our own little, and then we push the time back and we have our Christmas tree lighting, so we don't have this big 2-hour gap in the middle of our day and we spend the entire day. So that's part of the discussion I want to have, and just get feedback from council and see. Yeah, I think, yeah. And we just push the time back to about 2 o'clock, and we start later, and we come back, and it gets darker, and we can light our tree, and we just all here, and we just make it a day.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
So, okay, well, town manager, can you make that happen?
Yes, sir.
All right, any other feedback? Council Lady Neville?
I'm just thinking this out in my head. That's a great idea. But I'd also like for consideration, starting with Triangle Shopping Center and coming down this side of Route 1. I haven't fully thought that out in my mind. But just as far as that traffic crossing Route 1 with the parade route, if we kept it all on one side. Just a thought.
I think we already get permission from VDOT to close that side. So all we doing is just bringing the route in reverse rather than going, so if we start in Dumfries Shopping Center, if you're saying don't start at the rescue squad, start at Dumfries Shopping Center.
That's what I'm thinking. At the far end of that shopping center, have the entries come out and walk down this way. That way we're on one side of the road. There's a lot of parking in that lot. So we're not interfering with the two-way
Williamstown?
traffic on Fraley. That's just my thought. I'm trying to run it through my mind. But that way we're not even crossing that side. Keep all the parade traffic on this side.
I think
Go ahead. Tell me.
I was just going to say, I think I get the idea of what the council is trying to achieve. So staff and I, we will, put something together to be able to share with council, obviously well enough in advance of the parade to make sure we're all kind of on the same page and like the adjustments that'll be made this year.
So are we already currently actively recruiting parade participants?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we got people signing up. I know there was talk that were we looking at the Redskin band to come here? I don't know, like in the Manassas.
I can neither confirm nor deny
Okay.
Redskins band. However, we are actively working on this event.
Okay, actively working on the event. Okay.
Can we be emailed the form? I guess it's under documents, but sometimes I'll get people to ask me like about fall festival and stuff. I found that document, so I sent that out. But just the parade flyer and the registration form.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion about the Christmas parade and tree lighting? All right. I guess with that, for the parade, did the council still want to, if we move the time, do we still want to have a social beforehand? What you say? Yes, Councilman? Yeah. You still want?
If you did it down to rescue squad, you could have it right there.
Okay. So try to have the. So you still want? So the social, what, an hour before the parade? All right. So almost like our own Christmas social, right? Okay. All right. So I guess we got to work on the rescue squad. All right. Seeing no further discussion on discussion item. Tomorrow there'll be a ribbon cutting ceremony for our customer service center, DMV Select. The DMV commissioner will be here from Richmond at 3 o'clock to cut that ribbon, and whatever other dignitaries that were invited or participate in that, or that can afford to take off work. You're absolutely right. All right. There'll be a senior luncheon on Friday at 12:30, September 20th. Our next council meeting will be October the 1st, 7 p.m. right here. Cops and Coffee. So is there no donuts about that? Just coffee and cops? Okay. That'll be October the 2nd at 10 a.m. What's the location for the coffee? Oh, it's going to be at Dunkin' Donuts. Okay. But no donuts, just coffee. You got to buy your own donuts. All right. Yeah. Council meeting, October 15th. Senior luncheon, October 18th. The honorary street dedication for the McLaughlins will be October the 19th at 10:30 a.m. What day? I don't know. It's a Saturday? It's a Saturday. You don't have to take off. Wait, is that the same day as the Fall Festival and Virginia State University's homecoming? Oh, that's cool though. All right. I know, because we want to be here for it. We both got homecoming. All right. Fall Festival is October 19th at 11 a.m. Okay, you hold it down for us. All right. All right. Any next on the agenda is an adjournment. Welcome a motion.
Second.
It's been motioned by the vice mayor, second. Any discussion about adjourning? All right, seeing none, call for the question, please. Cast your votes. Motion carries 5-1. This meeting is majority ruled adjourned.